early voting to try to offer a platform or opportunity to connect with as many voters as possible. Folks, listen, the new Congressional District 29 is, it's unfortunate what we had to have, went through to get here, but there's a lot of confusion out there. A lot of folks don't know what district they're in. They don't know who they're voting for. Some folks may think they're still in District 18 voting for Al Green and Christian Menifee, but that's not the case. And so I'm here to tell you that 60% of the current District 18 is now the new 29. Around 30% of the former District 29 actually remains. That former 29 is a congressional seat held by Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia. So by default, she's considered the incumbent for the new 29. But when 60% of the community is the old 18, and we've been fighting for these communities since day one, I'm here to tell you that with all due respect, there is no incumbent for this new District 29. A district is not defined by its congressional number. It is defined by the communities in which it consists of. And those communities are Acres Homes, Cranbrook, Fallbrook, Aldine, Greenspoint, Independence Heights, Studewood, a little bit of City Gas, Humble, some in Tasasita, some Spring, all of north side of Houston, from the 610 North Loop up until 1960, from 290 West over to Homestead on the northeast side. And so I want to encourage everyone that if you do not know what congressional district you're in, you can go to harrisvotes.com to find out that information, or you can go to my website, standwithslater.com, where we have information on the new congressional maps. And so there are three people in this race: Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, former state rep or city councilman Jarvis Johnson, and then myself, Robert Slater. But the choice is very clear here. Change is on the ballot, and that change is with Robert Slater. Let me tell you a little bit of something about myself. I am not a politician. I am a solutionist. We do the work right now, whether we're in office or out of office. And we have the fortitude and the passion to continue to do the work, whether we're in the party of the minority or the party of the majority. Because no matter if you're in the minority or the majority, the community that you represent still expect results. And that's why we have outside the box thinking, innovative approaches, strong relationships, resource avenues to bring opportunities and solutions to this district by any means necessary. I'm Robert Slater, and I am on the ballot, number 2, second on the ballot, right below Sylvia Garcia. But I want to say this here, please, folks. We don't have a voter registration problem in this county. We have a get out the vote problem. But I understand that because previously there hasn't been many candidates that has excited you, that has delivered on their promises. They haven't delivered. The only thing they deliver is a frozen turkey during Thanksgiving, or they deliver and show up at your church during election time. I'm not him and I'm not them. We have been here. And though you may have not seen me before, trust me, some of the work that we have done has created an impact in your life. Because we're there with whether the cameras show up or not, or if they show up at all. And so we look for the opportunity to earn your vote, to get your vote, and to show you and expand and redefine what representation truly means. And so, Ms. Sheba Roy, thank you for joining me, being a moderator for this evening, and I look forward to answer all of your questions on behalf of the community.
Thank you so much, Robert. I apologize to everyone watching and to you for not being able to be on camera. I'm having some kind of technical difficulty, but the show must go on.
Yes.
So how are you? Have you been outside campaigning and working at the polls?
Yes, Lord. Today, this Sunday, as you guys know, we are in the middle of early voting. Excuse me. Early voting started February 17th, and it lasts until February 27th. Election day is March 3rd. Today, we had Souls to the Polls. We had another initiative called Vote or Die. And so it started in Acres Homes and went on to ended at Acres Homes Multi-Service Center. And so we had hundreds of folks come out of there, part of that caravan, that caravan or that parade, if you will, to the polls. And there was a lot of candidates out there. We had great fun. Everyone was out there passing out literature and just, trying to earn those votes. We left there, and then we went to, canvass these neighborhoods and knock on doors and talk directly to the constituents of this new district. And now we're here on this town hall, and when we leave here, we're preparing to start all over again tomorrow. This campaign works 12 to 13, 14 hours a day, not only working the polls, but also still phone banking and canvassing the neighborhoods as we speak. So it's been a long day, but this is what we're here for.
Right, you're committed to the work, and that's what we like to see. So here's my question. We see a lot of people, and you yourself included, have commented on the fact that it's not necessarily a problem of, people don't know how to vote, it's that they don't want to vote. So I guess the question is, because this came up for me specifically earlier. This is not necessarily a community question. This is something that came to me. When we choose you and you go to Congress, you have to work to keep our vote. So that's what all of this is really about. We're standing behind you, especially here from Acres Home and the Acres Home Progressive Alliance. We're choosing you as our candidate. So I just want this to be clear to anybody who has held public office before. If you no longer have the support of the people, it's because you didn't keep their vote. So, Robert, the question is, we've talked about the things that you would do from a congressional standpoint to keep the people's vote. How can we trust you to be in this community and to just be, present? Of course, you'll do FCAB, but what if we want to see you? Will we be able to contact you and reach you if we need to talk to you?
Absolutely. This president, this administration has defied, democracy as we know it. They push the limits of our constitutional law. But as a businessman, I look and see what lemonade we can squeeze out of these lemons. Therefore, what he has done in the name of destruction, we saw holes that we can come in and rebuild and to fill. And I say that to say is he redefined what a presidency is in the most negative way. We wanted to redefine what representation is in the most positive way. So to your point and to your question, it would be impossible to not be accessible to this community or to leave them behind, because the community will come along with me. A true leader builds an infrastructure, a pipeline for connectivity, for the flow of resources, for accessibility, to be able to not only speak to your constituency, but most importantly, to listen to that constituency. And so we look to have a minimum of 3 to 5 field offices throughout this district. And outside these field directors, we have our FCAB board, which consists of 29 members from the community throughout this district. And then we'll also break this district down to territories, if you will, where we'll partner with our civic club leaders, our faith-based leaders, as well as our precinct chairs to organize and to build that infrastructure, which is lacking or non-existent, shall I say, and that is priority one within the first 100 days. We have to build the roads before we pull out the vehicles. So the roads is our pipeline, the vehicles is the resources. So we want our resources to flow smoothly, but we have to build roads throughout this community to make sure that these vehicles go to where they are headed and where they should be going.
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's jump into some of these questions. The first question is under the topic of economic opportunity and small business. As you know, that's a big issue here in Acres Home specifically, is that we're trying to encourage people to open businesses, and we're trying to help those who are operating small businesses. So the question is, how should Congress address inflation without hurting small businesses and everyday consumers?
Well, for one, we have to address these tariffs and these destructive policies that this administration are doing. We just recently saw that the Supreme Court found that it was unconstitutional for this president to unilaterally impose tariffs across the board, across across the globe. These tariffs hurt our homeland. We see our farmers, our small businesses, the supply chains are low. Our workforce has been depleted. We have to reverse and roll back those policies first and foremost. The second thing is that we have to bring more folks, more small businesses and entrepreneurs into the process to be able to get governmental contracts, to be able to get resources from the federal government, also to get the education and the structure to be able to take a small business and be able to scale up. And how I intend to do that as a businessman is to first and foremost identify. Well, let me say this. Houston has the second largest LLC registration in the entire country, but
Oh,
yet they're
wow.
towards the bottom of the list when it comes to funding to supplement that.
hmm
So we look at small business that begin usually out of college graduate age, right up to age of 22, so on and so forth. But the majority of small businesses are in that 35 and up range. It's those 45-year-old single moms maybe that have a t-shirt business on the side, but she got to decide if she want to follow her dream and a small business, or do she pay her rent? That's what we want to tap into. The founder of McDonald's didn't hit it big until he was 52 years old. So many people hit it big in their 40s and 50s, and we're not looking into that demographic, into that pool to provide those resources to foster the American dream. And so I say that to say is that we want to look into governmental business as well as our public education. These schools that close at 4 o'clock, those schools should stay open maybe up to 10, 11 o'clock, right? Once the little kids get out of school, let's bring those adults in and offer those workshops, those classes to be able to give them those educations. And once we mitigate their financial lack of literacy, if you will, then we could bring in those resources and those banks or those investors that don't want to take a chance on these folk because they saying, hey, they don't have the P&L education or the financial literacy, whatever excuse they want to throw out there. I'm here to help lead that, to get these folks educated, to check those boxes. So when the money comes, we take those excuses off the table. We have to invest in our small businesses where it's too many rooftops, but it should be a lot of commercial business right where the rooftops are. So the dollars float around those communities and stay in those communities.
Oh, we have plenty of empty space,
Right.
for businesses to open up. And that's something that I
Absolutely.
track regularly. Like there is a
Mhm.
location directly on West Montgomery, and we would love to see, and this I've been saying the last couple of weeks, but I think, several of the community members are in agreement. We'd like to see a coffee shop somewhere where we can go and read books and maybe have like spoken word. Now, there are some places that have opened up, but those are restaurants or bars. We're talking about somewhere we can go co-work easily during the day because there are business owners in Acres Home, and we're looking
Right.
for that place. And I also want to add that I am the mother that you're talking about because
Okay.
I worked a full-time job in the medical field and I wanted to be a better, more present mother because I have a special needs child. So,
Mhm.
I was getting call after call from the school, but I could not be present because I had to be at my 9 to 5 job. And there was even a time where my child was really struggling at school and I was getting calls and I was afraid I was going to lose my job because I had to leave and pick her up. So I said to myself, well, how can I be with her and, provide for my children at the same time? And that answer to me was entrepreneurship, but it hasn't been easy,
Mhm.
and there are times when, like you said, I have had to decide between paying my rent and doing something else.
And that's
So
unfortunate.
yeah.
I remember that when we joined Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee's campaign, and a part of our, back and forth in our agreement, if you will, we had a conversation about the Bethune Empowerment Center at one point. This was a couple of years ago, but I was communicating to her that the issue I have sometimes with our incubator systems is that they're good in idea, they're good in theory, they get the funding, but they don't go far enough. They don't go long enough with the connectivity where you should have a system where you bring in folks that want to open up a business or that has already started but want, to fine tune some things so they could be able to scale up, and then you certify them in areas that they need to be in small business. But at the end of that road, there should be a war chest of funding and resources available. So if folks go through the P&L learning, the marketing learning, getting their credit right, getting good standing with banks and finance, if we mitigate all of that, at the end of that line after they get certified, we should have a Shark Tank like this city has never seen before. But it takes a leader to bring in those finance investors, those banks, those that just want to get into the investment side of things. And then they do a presentation and then we partner with it. Then we bring in the chamber to help manage and scale up that process. And so leadership brings everybody together on the infrastructure. Politics has a good idea, throw money at it, the money is lost, and then they go on to the next project. And that is what the problem is with our community, especially when small business is concerned.
I'm
Should
sorry
be
you went
said.
out for a
That's
second.
okay.
I'm still here. I'm struggling over here with my
I got you.
electronics.
It's okay.
But yeah, exactly that. But here's something I wanted to touch on that you said. Oh, see, she said, Sheba, thank you for sharing your story, which resonates with many of us as single mothers. Okay, so two things. So I want to circle back to that because there's something that's, I want to develop a nonprofit if I'm ever able to, that provides single mothers with support while they're trying to grow their business. And maybe that's something that we can send up for you to work on. But when you were here for the ride along that we had several months back, which was last year, I guess it was about 6 months ago, You mentioned that, there's people looking for jobs, but there's also obvious jobs right here in the neighborhood. So you're saying that there's people who need work and there's concrete that needs to be picked up across the way from them. So I want to know, how exactly would you make that connection happen, or how exactly what programming would you create or develop, or who would you partner with to get these people who need this work and the work done?
I want to say this, and I hope I don't lose nobody on this, folks, on this call, but I want to say something very clear. The tax code is the spinal system of capitalism. The tax code. Donald Trump and the Republican Party knows this, and most Democrats on the upper echelon, the elite, knows this as well. The problem is that there has not been a Democrat president or leader that has proposed a tax cut plan, if you will, in over 40 years. And so there's a bill right now that's on the floor, and we've met with the congresswoman that is sponsoring out of Florida, and we've actually added some amendments on it as a candidate. We're the only candidacy in this entire country that's a part of a tax bill that's on the floor right now. It's called the All-American Tax Plan. And what it does is it takes those tax cuts from the 1% and it shifts them down to the middle class and to the upper poverty levels. And so we expand the write-offs through the tax process, such as writing off school clothes, not just a child tax credit, writing off the ability to put your child in AAU sports, which most of our kids are in, because that keeps our kids off of the streets. It keeps them involved into sports and so on and forth. So we want to incentivize that. But I said it to say, in the business side, we also have these corporations like a Home Depot or a Lowe's. And for those that know, before DEI was assaulted and assassinated by this administration, a lot of companies had a certain amount of dollars that they had to invest into certain minority communities. Like Chevrolet, I think, had $4 or $5 million earmarked over the course of 5 years. Well, guess what? That money is gone now because of this administration. But let me say this here. There's dollars out there. And so these companies come from out of town into these communities to make a profit off it, but they're not giving the money back into the community. So by way of the tax code, if those big companies want those tax breaks that they call themselves enjoying right now, it's going to come with a lot of costs to make sure that those profits go back into that community. And so, yes, if I'm walking down DeSoto, or if I'm walking down anywhere in any community and I see illegal dumping every single block, and I see children having to walk in the middle of the street because there's no sidewalks on the side of the road, and it's a hazard to get to a bus stop or to a school, but then I see a lot of gentlemen that's on the corner, or people gathering around a gas station because they have no jobs. Well, guess what? I just walked and saw a bunch of work that needs to be done. And so when you're walking in the community and you come from those communities, you know what needs to be done. And so we want to get those folks into the workforce by building into their own communities. There's a study that shows that crime reduces by up to 60% when you take folks that's from the community to build in their community, because they're less likely to destroy their own community. So when people get, justice impacted or get on probation or parole, we don't need them picking up trash off the side of Highway 45 or doing some. No, do community work right in the community from where they belong, and they're less likely to destroy it. And so it's all about civic synergy. And I believe that everything is connected. Where there's a problem, there's a solution, but it takes a leader to see that.
Robert, do you think that people are afraid to elect somebody like you who's not a politician? I heard you call yourself a solutionist.
I don't think they're afraid. I think that they're respectfully, we lack faith. We are used to seeing one way for so long that we start to believe that there is no other way. And when someone comes along and says it, it's an idea. Martin Luther King had a dream before the dream started to become a reality. It was a good speech in the 60s when he was saying it. But when bills started to get signed and things started coming in motion, now even non-Black folks is benefiting the civil rights and the benefits of the Civil Rights Act and so on and so forth. So yes, some things start off as an idea. It starts off as a dream, but then becomes a plan in motion and action, but it takes a leader to take it through. So I hope that the folks are tired enough of what they've seen and what they're used to, and understand that you don't have to negotiate. You don't have to have someone foot on your neck and be afraid to take a chance. And if you're afraid to take on a chance of, let's say, a campaign like mine because of some big name politicians that's also in this race, and you may be afraid of retaliation, you may be afraid of, if Wes Slater don't win, I have to deal with this person, or I have to deal with this person because they're the incumbent. That's bull. And that's the problem. And so we can't complain about the change that's around us, that's on our wrist. We can't complain about our neighborhoods and communities when we're selling out our vote for the lesser of two devils, when change is on the ballot. And so it doesn't matter. I pray that no one is afraid. I tell everyone to please have faith. Believe in yourself and your vote. And we get enough people to believe, then let me show you how this can be. That's what leadership is.
Okay, I like that. That's a really, really strong and powerful answer. Okay, here's one question I have. Somebody asks, are you for or against reparations? If so, if you're in favor of it, how will you advance it?
Thank you. I am 100% for reparations, unapologetically. We know that this country has a systemic racism problem. It's not just about from one race to another. The system is racist because the system was designed during a racist time, a racist period, and especially a time when they didn't even acknowledge that Black men was men. And so we can acknowledge that and begin to heal these wounds, and that is the problem. And so let's put that aside. Let's talk data. I said this 1,000 times. A Black man makes 80 cents to the dollar to his white male counterpart. The Black female makes 60 cents to the dollar to the white male counterpart. We look at the staggering rate of how many Black men are not in homes. So you have a lot of single women households. So if she's losing a 20 cent from her male counterpart, plus the 40% from her white male counterpart, she's starting from behind the race. And so when we have these epic schools that's closing and public education is closing, now you're setting up a system of segregation where your white neighborhoods are set up to foster because they have a two-parent household, they have booster clubs, they have all these type of associations to segment and to supplement the difference so they can afford to invest into school supplies and sports supplies for their students, where the single household of a Black woman does not. And so because of that disparity, we have a problem. And so we have investigated, we have researched, and we have posed a plan inside of this all-American tax plan to where some disenfranchised communities, minority groups, and or persons that is systemically at a disadvantage will receive some type of relief by way of the tax code. And so you could translate that how you want to. I stand on business when I say it, that a single Black mother or a single mother or a Black person or a Hispanic or Latino that is suffering some type of disenfranchisement because of the system, they'll receive some type of write-off, some type of tax credit, some type of relief, to give them some type of even playing field. That's not favoritism. Until we level out the disparities and even the playing field, then we could roll back those cushions. But we have to stop running away from it. This is not me being pro-race or pro-Black over another ethnic group, not at all. Because it's okay, and I believe that a real leader can have a Black agenda, you can have a Latino agenda, because the Latinos are having some type of suffering, some type of a persecution from ICE right now that Black folks are not going to that extent. But I'm not leaving our Latinos behind. I stand with our Latinos with the Latino agenda. But right now, I'm talking about the Black agenda. So I believe in reparations. We have a plan to supplement it by way of our tax code. It's long overdue. It needs to be done. And once we do it, then this country will start to heal after it acknowledged our systemic racism and disenfranchisement of Black folks in these communities.
Okay, well, I'll say from a personal level, I grew up in Tomball. I don't know if you know where that is.
Yeah,
But I do grow up there. And that is
Mhm.
one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about what we do here in Acres Home, is because I grew up in a community that had more than what it needed. Like, we had so many places to shop, so many places to eat, so many little mom and pop donut shops, in addition to the large donut shops. Like, what do you need all that for? Like, when I was in high school, I was learning how to drive, and I could so easily just leave my driveway and drive to wherever I wanted to go. And so when I come down here and I see that there's nowhere to just grab a bite to eat from my office, that's just a problem for me. And I feel like it shouldn't be like that, because obviously it's possible for it to be a different way. I saw it. I lived it. So that is why I'm so passionate about this. So I appreciate you for saying that.
And
Okay, so go ahead.
if I may real quick for your next question, that's why we also, again, we are, Miss Sheba, we have I have some of the best people around me. Besides the campaign teams and the workers in all positions, we have economists out of Washington, D.C. that works on this team. We have one of the strongest constitutional legal teams that work out of D.C. And I have our PR marketing person is out of D.C. She worked on Kamala Harris's campaign. We are the real deal. And so these are not ideas. These are things that are vetted because I don't write checks that I cannot cash. And so just like what you just spoke about with the Tomball situation, they have these things called opportunity zones that has been successful and not successful, whatever. We calling for investment zones. And investment zones under Rob Slater plans for the new District 29 look exactly like this. Let me give you a company like Apple. These companies want to come to Texas because of tax breaks. But these tax breaks are happening off the back and they're breaking your back every single day. But they're not coming to your neighborhood. Amazon want to build up warehouses all across this county, but how many is in our neighborhoods that's giving those good high-paying jobs directly to the constituency in our community? Go down Acres Homes, go down in Greenspoint. Every single kid has an iPhone, but where's the Apple store? Why is the Apple stores in Upper Kirby on the Heights or something? And so when I say an investment zone, you cannot come in here to make a profit on the backs of our community, but you're not giving those jobs to our community. You're not setting up shop inside of our community, and you're not bringing back resources to our communities. That is the problem that we have to identify, and that's what disenfranchised communities mean. And so again, to those companies such as Apple's that want to enjoy those high 35 upper tax breaks, so on and so forth, no. This tax breaks to those companies has put us almost $56 trillion in debt. $56 trillion that your little kids that's playing AU right now, when they grow up, that's what they're going to have to pay off. We are running up the light bill in our children's names. So what kind of future is that going to set up? When your kids graduate, they're going to be taxed to depression. They're not going to have those jobs available. So it's not fair that the average age in Congress is 75 years old. And unfortunately, respectfully, they would not be here around to see that the devastating damage that their misuse of finance is happening to our children. And so we have to invest back in these communities and open up stores, bring food halls into these food deserts. You can go into an area with no grocery store or no restaurant, but there's food trucks every 5 feet. There's people selling plates out of their cars to make a living. Let's give them a place. Let's give them one in those schools that you keep on closing down. And so it takes a leader to bring all of that together through civic synergy. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's why we have our farmers market because it
Mhm.
operates
And thank you
as
for having
you
that.
kn- oh, absolutely. We do have fresh produce and other food items here, but we're really building community. And people
Mhm.
do come here and hang out and make sure that they, eat and chat with each other. And just really, I mean, it's a place that, at first it was really about necessity. We don't have a grocery store, so let's bring some produce, but it really has grown into like a monthly reunion. When people show up, they want to commune with each other. They want to talk to each other. They want to say, "Oh, I missed you last month. Look what I have." Like it's really, really a beautiful community driven endeavor. And there are people in this community who, just like you said, need and deserve a place to pop up their
Yeah.
restaurant in this food hall. And I hope that you are able to go to Washington so that we can see some of these things really, really come to fruition. Okay, so here's another question. Public safety means different things to different people. How do you define it, and what federal role should Congress play in public safety?
Public safety is twofold. Folks, it's simple math. When crime typically increases is because there's some type of governmental cuts to some type of program, some type of wraparound service. People aren't just born bad or wake up to say, I'm making the bad choices per se or whatever. Sometimes your environment fosters that. Now, let me be clear before I get misquoted. That doesn't apply to all cases, but a good deal and a good amount of these young kids or whatever crime is happening that we can address from a federal standpoint. When I was growing up, we used to have DARE before it was revealed of what was going on behind DARE. And we used to have PAL, Police Athletics Leagues. We need to get our law enforcement and our first responders, including the fire department, back acclimated in our schools. You know, when I was growing up, students used to want to be lawyers, doctors, police officers. Now they want to be rappers, TikTokers, influencers. And so we need to get these careers and these leaders in our communities that's paid to protect and serve us back into our school system to be role models. That's A. Public safety also extend to resilience of flooding and environmental justice. Because if we have illegal dumping, let's say in an acres home on the northwest side, and then that's the same area where flooding is persistent, well, we have found that if we invest allocated funds that's already there just to declog our drainage system over in that area, it will reduce flooding by up to 35%. It's flooding because the drains are clogged because you're allowing illegal dumping. And so that's a public safety issue. And why is it a public safety issue? Because when natural disaster strikes and FEMA takes forever to get there, we know that underserved communities in some zip codes, it takes up to weeks to get resources and supply lines back online because we're prioritizing where those resources and first responders go, such as the NRG system or these upper areas like River Oaks and Kingwood. That is a problem. And I've said it before several times. I have a restaurant that's in an area called League City. When the lights went off, I think during when we had that freeze not too long ago or flood or something, the electricity came back on in a day. But another concept I was a part owner in Third Ward, it took 3 days. But then I had a relative that stayed over there in Fifth Ward, and it took up to a week. And so we're prioritizing, rescuing, and providing basic services based on the zip code. That is unfathomable. It's wrong, but nobody's talking about it. And so public safety includes environmental justice. It includes humanitarian justice. And most importantly, it includes justice impacted for our dealing with crime and things of that nature. So it's trifold in my vision.
Well, you answered that question, or as the kids would say, period. So a couple things came up for me when you were talking. One, my son is 21 years old, and he doesn't want to go to college. He has chosen to be a FedEx delivery driver. Granted, that's a great job, but I think they were turned off from school, education, and the system when COVID happened. And
Yes.
those children, well, he's not a child per se, but he's a young adult, his age and younger, they're not like we were, and they don't have the programs we did because you and I both grew up at the same time, and DARE was prominent in school. I want to say this too before I ask this next question. During the ice freeze in 2021, that was 2021, right? In February 2021?
Yeah. Yes.
Or 2022, was it? Okay. I lived directly behind the Champions Forest Golf Club, and never once did my power go out.
See?
The whole time.
And they don't tell it. You're not going to see that on the news. You're not going to hear a politician or elected official say what the problem is. You want to know why? Because CenterPoint pays all of them. CenterPoint has a monopoly on it. It's a problem. It's a problem.
Yeah. Well, I'm sharing the truth. Never did the power go out when I lived right there. And I knew what it was. I knew why it was. And I was grateful to be in that position, but I felt so bad for everybody else because I knew that they weren't. Okay, here's the next question. All right, as a restaurateur and entrepreneur, because I heard you mention in one of your restaurant concepts in Third Ward, how has your lived experience shaped your policy priorities?
Good question. It's the reason why I'm running for office. Again, I don't aspire to be a politician. This race, and since I've been running for the last 2 years, has cost me so much. Let me be honest. It breaks my heart to even ask people for donations because the community I go after, I'll be very transparent with you. The folks that I go after to help typically don't vote. They're in the underserved at the poverty line, but helping them and giving them hope is more serious to me than anything else that I could do in life. And so because I've lived those experiences, there's not a statistic that exists that I don't check that box. But then I overcame them and I saw a solution, I saw a way. And so it's my responsibility to go back to lead folks and lead these communities into some type of regard of putting them together, say, hey, we got this. If I can overcome every single thing that I've been through, and there's been times where you have faced something where you didn't think you were going to make it through, but you got through it. We need leaders today. We don't have them. We have politicians. In the 60s and 70s during the Civil Rights March, when there was Brother Malcolm or when it was Brother Martin, we had leaders that was outside the political system that was driving the laws and putting the pressure. Now we have politicians saying they're on the outside, but they're actually on the inside. We don't have leaders. And so it's my belief that we take civil rights inside the halls of Washington, inside the halls of DC, and we got the people of the people truly behind us. We're not bought. We don't have PAC money. We don't talk to lobbyists. The people are our lobbyists. And so what drives my policy is that we do not negotiate if it's going to sacrifice our communities or disenfranchise people. But it drives my policy because I've went through what the problems are. Even if I have not lived in your community or your neighborhood, it's duplicative of where I come from, if not worse, but maybe similar. I have a mother that lives with me that had to retire early because of her health issues, and cost of living was just too high for her small benefits. And she couldn't get a job where she lose her benefits. So which do you take? So she lives with me. I have a son that was shot during COVID. He's paralyzed from the neck down, but he has the fortitude and the heart, and he doesn't even like to be, he don't like to be helped. It's not a pride thing. He wants to live his life at 26 years old to whatever he could do it. He's overcoming it. And guess what? I support him in whatever that looks like. I live these issues every single day. And as a small businessman, I have to keep my doors open during a recession, during inflation, and figure out how to keep the lights on to the restaurant, but also have a staff to take care of. And 92% of my staff don't speak English. And so we actually have ICE policies that if ICE was to come through the door, what are we going to do? Because I've grown to love these folks that I work with. And though we speak different languages, in my business, we call it kitchen Spanglish. We sometimes put up signs that is English and Spanish. We learn each other because when you're working together, that's a different type of language. It's not just verbal. And so all these things direct my passion for policy changes, because I'm going to Washington, D.C., not to play along, not to get along, but to bring along the resources back to the community I represent. And so I back Hakeem Jeffries and the Democratic Party. But I'll be clear, I stand with my district before a party. I'll say it again. I will stand with the 800,000 constituents of my district, and I will not walk in step and in tow with something that's not popular with my district, and I will not sell my district out. And that is a promise I intend to keep.
Okay. Well, that is in alignment, I guess, with what I'm seeing here in the chat. Mr. Muhammad entered the chat. Shout out to Mr. Muhammad. There's his question. What would be your role ensuring the community knows what legislation you are voting on or preparing ahead of time so we could know what's going on?
Got you. So we want to mobilize. We have a couple of, Mr. Muhammad, thank you for joining. We have a couple of ideas. Of course, our FCAB board, which is a board that when time permits, if there's a bill, typically they vote on bills in the evening time. If there's a bill that's up on the floor and I have time, I'll come to this board in some type of emergency session. The bylaws of this board is going to tell them, hey guys, be ready, be ready. If I'm up there advocating, I need you back here. And then we're going to have a quick meeting, an update. We're going to have bullet points, tell you what's on the floor of the House. And then if time permits for you to go back to your territories or your districts or your area, your communities, your constituency, and get a consensus. And then you come back, we're going to have a roll call, and that board is going to vote. It is not my personal opinion. I'm just here to advocate. And how that board votes is how I'll go back and place in DC. Now, if time do not permit, and I have to cast a vote before I'm able to do that, then I'm going to hold myself accountable and come and tell this board what happened, what's at stake, and why I had to make the decision at that time without giving a call. So they'll be updated. And then also, we also want to look at innovative ways, such as creating a District 29 app, a mobile app, just like Facebook, that's community, that's informative and resourceful. And so if you stay in one of the zip codes, then you could download this app for free. And we have every single bill and information and reference points that you can access that's concerning to this district. But we want to expand it. We want to offer it to small businesses. So if you're looking for jobs or you got specials, we'll have a link on this app for you to market to your community as well. But we also want to look at for the worker. If you need a job and you have a skill set, we'll have a profile on this so you can upload your resume and search for jobs within this community. But also in times of emergency. So when there's a disaster that strikes, we're not waiting for FEMA. I believe people when they show you who you are. And when you let Kerrville and those kids down in South Texas die because you was playing political games, I refuse to let my community do the same thing. And so within this app also, when there's a time for disaster and floods or there's road blockage, there'll be a live interactive map so you can see what's happening, what's going on. And if you are able to, it'll also have an SOS button on there. So you can tell somebody you need help by way of the app so the community could come and save you. Don't tell me it can't be done. It just takes a leader to do it. And so bringing an innovative web app and bringing the community into the technology stage, that's the first and foremost, to get information out there and that you can research and digest in your own time. Number two, I know that was a lot. We want to activate these young folk, these college folk, these high school folks. Right now, we're activating a program called Senior to Seniors, excuse me, Youth to Seniors. We partner with Ms. LaQuinn Jenkins from Simple Choice Insurance Brokerage, where we're training young folk and partnering them with seniors to go teach our seniors basic technology. A lot of our seniors are intimidated by emails, intimidated by Facebook, intimidated by simple technology. And it's intimidating. They're not dumb or behind, but the world is going so fast, it's hard for them to keep up. So we want to bridge that gap to make sure they're resourceful. So bringing all of our folks into the technology phase of a district app, activating leaders based by territories, letting them come up and get those resources and report. We're all going to be connected. And so that is my plan to make sure that the community comes along while we fight this battle. District 29 will be at the front of the line under Robert Slater representation. Guaranteed.
Okay, amazing. So I think honestly, this is a good time to point out that there is a difference between a politician or a person who holds political office who is in office to serve the interests of the people rather than the interests of themselves. So I think it's safe to say that you are ready to take office to serve the interests of the people. Now,
Yes.
with that being said, are you able to balance our district specific needs with the board that you're putting in place with national political pressures or the pressures that you might feel while holding office in Washington? Do you need me to rephrase the question
Not
or
at
read it
all.
again? Okay.
Not at all. Ms. Roy, I am built different, and I represent communities that are built different. There's not a pressure that could come upon us that we have not overcome as a people. The challenges that I've been through in my life, it's just different. And so I say it to say is that DC better get ready for us. DC can't and will not change me. I have been in situations where I'm in this situation, but I'm not of it. And I'll be in Washington, DC, but not of it. We're not beholden to special interests from APAC. No. We're not beholden to big donors or we sign no contracts, but the people, because I serve the people and the people can fire me. And because I'm putting myself up for a vote of confidence every 12 months, I mean, that's a report card. We also want to expand that with the FCAB board where quarterly my representation gets a grade that will be publicly put out. And I want to be a straight A student for my community. So if I fail, then we have to address it. And so my representation will be kept up in real time. And let me tell you why that's important. Because I don't aspire to be a politician. I told you I'm running to redefine what representation is. So after me, after my 3 terms that I will commit to no longer than that, nobody coming behind me will be able to take the power away from the people again. We will have ushered in a model, critiqued it, fine-tuned it to where now this seat will belong in the people and the people will have a say in this moving forward. That is my ultimate purpose and gift and opportunity and honor to give that to this community. That is it. That's it.
Okay, so here's a question that I'm sure you can answer. What can be done at the federal level to support reentry programs and reduce recidivism?
Thank you. And thank you for asking. I don't know if you know on our website, but we actually have a bill that lightly we worked with the Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee called the Recidivism Act. And
Okay.
basically what it does is the Recidivism Act, and you have some programs that's similar like this in some states, and I think state of Texas have one, but federally speaking, we want to seem to federally bond those that has a criminal record. When you come out of serving your time, and if the systems say that you have been rehabilitated enough, it's not fair for double jeopardy for society to keep on bringing invoices and sending you invoices when you paid your dues. And so with the Recidivism Act, what that does is it's set up just like the insurance companies. If you have just got released from prison or you served your time, for a small premium, you'll pay into a system and become insured. Because housing and job opportunities, employers say that they don't want to take a chance on you because, hey, you might mess up and cost them some money or cause damage or whatever. Cool. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I'm so
you're
sorry about
back.
that.
Hey, I can't
Yeah.
even use my camera. You don't need to apologize.
All right, let's get back in this thing. Okay, here we go. So we were talking about recidivism, yes?
Yes, you were talking about the bill that you worked with Sheila Jackson.
Yes. Okay, I'm sorry. Get this camera right. There we go. We're gonna get this thing right. And so basically what it does is it insures you. And so if now it prohibits an employer or a housing entity from discriminating against you because of your past. And so now because you're insured, and let's say you have to get that job or you have to get that housing. Now, if some damages accrue or something happens, then that entity can file for a claim and be compensated. So we'll take the whole argument off that they're going to take a loss by being federally bonded. And that is based off of fact and studies that shows that if you catch someone, excuse me, within 6 months after being released, the chances of them going back decreases by 85%. If you catch someone and give them an opportunity within the first 6 months after their release, it'll reduce recidivism by 85%. That is a known fact. And so we have to, if we don't want to keep sending people back, if they send, that's the goal, right? We're not just building prisons and farmhouses just to be doing them, right? We really want to rehabilitate folks, right? That's what we want to do. Then let's keep them out of jail. 33% of minority men has a criminal record. That means that your father, your brother, your son, your uncle, somebody that you know have been dealt with the justice, the justice system of some regard. Now, I'm not here to mitigate the fronting of the crime of what someone did to have gotten in jail. And let me be clear, there are some crimes that they probably should build a prison over someone. I'll just say that this is, we can mitigate that. But for the most part, if the state of Texas Board of Parole say that this person has been rehabilitated enough to come back into society, the society has to have a system to really acclimate them back into society and in a fair way. And so we want to reduce that. We want to reduce that. And I know a lot of men that has done some time and they've changed their life around. And they're out here every single day being the lifeline of so many communities. They're giving back. They're reaching out and mentoring. They're going in through the ranks of churches and women. And they have those roadblocks and those challenges. It's so much they could do. I met a young lady today of she owns a food truck. She has a family and a house out there in Humble, and she can't vote and she can't get certain funding for, and she could cook her tail off. So she was able to save up and get a food truck. And she's out here making it with her family. Why can't we invest in that? Why can't we give her those opportunities? She paid her time. She paid her dues. And so Recidivism Act is a #1 priority. I spoke with Sheila Jackson Lee about it and some other Congress folks, and we was looking excited to get that done. And the work will continue and it will get passed, and it will be something that I would hopefully close my eyes on this earth with and be proud of a job well done and providing that for so many of Americans that just need an opportunity.
I love that. So let me ask you this. What issue do you believe is most misunderstood about this new District 29 at the national level?
Ooh. Let me not make it fun. Well, a couple of things. One thing that misunderstood is that there's only two people in this race. The system, the establishment party, the powers that be have tried their best to frame this as a two-person race with Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia and former State House Jarvis Johnson, as if this is a two-person race, because they don't want a candidacy or a campaign like ours that's outside the establishment to catch any traction or motion. Thank God they're not going to see us coming, because this is a people's time. This is a people's election. And that's why the establishment keep on losing so many races, because they're not putting up the right candidates when the people are demanding what type of representation they want. And so the biggest misrepresentation is there's only two people in this race. A. The second thing is that typically, experience. Folks, experience as we know it has expired. What has that experience gotten you? If you walk outside right now, what has that experience of these former recycled politicians has gotten you? Is inflation better for you? Is job opportunities better for you? Have funding and lending? Is it better for you? Has experience increased the women's right for their reproductive? What are we talking about? And so I say this here. I don't care if you are the incumbent right now, if you're a former city council member, former state rep, whatever. If you held any type of office in the last 10 years, then what is happening today happened on your watch. You do not get to deflect and defer and gaslight the community, come back and act as if you're the answer to the problems that happen on your watch. You were sent there to defend us and to fight us and to educate us on these things, and you failed at it. And so to come back and say that you are now the fighter, but we're the ones getting beat up, let me tell you something. No, I don't like to lose. And so you do not have to have elected experience to do this. You have to have the experience of life, the experience of common sense, the experience of winning, the experience of fortitude and strength. Every single elected congressperson was once a freshman congressperson in their lifetime. Sheila Jackson Lee was once a freshman, inexperienced congressperson. Barbara Jordan was once a freshman, inexperienced congressperson. Let me be clear. Experience must be relatable. Experience must have gone through the things that you are going through. If you're hungry right now, experience should be someone that has been hungry before and figure out how to eat. If your bills and you can't afford to pay your bills right now, or you can't afford to open up your business or invest in your business, experience is someone who has felt the pain that you're feeling right now. Relatable experience is the only thing that should matter on this ballot. Your experience is what you're voted for. And so if you cannot relate to any of these candidates, or these candidates cannot speak to your community just because they have a popular name or a big name, or they're your neighbor or they're your friend, listen, no, we have to stop playing games. And if somebody co-signs or escorting or calling you on my behalf, and I don't care who it is, I don't care what they co-sign, I don't care who their mother is, let me tell you, experience must be relatable. And it's time right now, there's too much at stake. This may be the last election that we have from this president. He's threatening. He's threatening to take these elections away from the midterms. We need a different type of fighter. This is not politics as normal. And so I pray that the experience that you seek is an experience that connects to your experience of life, of life. That's the experience that's needed right now at this time.
I love this tagline I'm seeing in the chat multiple times. Greater with Slater.
Yes. Ooh,
Absolutely.
we should trademark that. Thank you.
I was going to say, I mean, I've seen it twice now. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
the same person saying it, but I think that's it rhymes. It's great. Okay. So I'm assuming this is like a negotiable, because you probably have to in order to like work, but, how do you plan to collaborate across party lines to deliver results? And let me tell you, before you answer the question, one person did mention to me that they were concerned that you might be too friendly with Republicans, but don't you have to work together to get things done?
Yes, and I've heard that from the communities because of past statements, and I'll say them again, and I want to rest you assured, it's whether they're Republicans or conservatives, negotiating without my community's input will never happen. Taking something away, a compromising where it's detrimental to my community will never happen. That's against Democrat and or Republican. I am a Democrat first and through and values. But to get something done, you are going to need, if we're in the minority, you would like to hope to reach across the aisle and find some common ground. And if there's some Republicans or libertarians or independents that is willing to come to the table to help us get some legislation passed, then I'll be willing to hear what they have to say. But then I'll go back to the community to communicate what's being said. See, too many deals are happening on the golf course on the back room, and then they come out saying, "Oh, we struck a deal," or they want to break quorum or stay strong, but then they come back because they've decided what was at stake, and then they tell it, no. If you have something to say that you're willing to compromise on and get something passed, then we as a community will listen. But we as a community will all be involved in that voting process. Let me tell you again, I am non-negotiable when it comes to lacking or compromising my community from Democrats or Republicans, because sometimes we as Democrats sell ourselves out, but we're doing a good job now. And we are doing a great job. And I tell my fellow Democrats, let's not mess this up. Trump is the best thing that's happening for us with the anti-sentiment. But we must have a plan. Let's not get in office and lose it again. Let's not ride the wave of the anti. We can't just say Trump, Trump bad man, Trump bad. We know Trump bad man, the devil bad man. We don't need to call that out 1,000 times. What plan do we have for the people? And so anybody that is in conflict to the community I represent and the harms against the people, from our seniors to our children, to our small businesses, to our Muslim communities, our Christian communities, to our students, anybody will face the consequences of a no. We're not negotiating with this. So I stand with my community through and through. So I'm not friendly to Republicans. I'm friendly to the community I represent only.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I'm assuming what time are we getting off of here?
I think about 8 o'clock. I think
Okay.
I don't know what time it is now.
It's 8:05. So but I do have a couple more questions.
Okay.
So people are always talking about pushing the youth to the polls, of course. And we do want the young voters to go to the polls, and we want them to be hopeful about engaging in the process. But how do we reach those people who just don't vote? Like, I think there's a larger population there in those adults who maybe, and I'm admittedly am one of those people who really was not that interested in civic engagement and voting as an adult woman. So what needs to happen in order to inspire those people to get to the polls, you think?
We have to meet them where they are, Miss Roy. We have to, these politicians talk that talk, and these young folks are not stupid. You can't just hop in a Martin Luther King parade and wave to the folks, or come and do the South Side with a little kiki and think that's enough. No. You need to go into where they're at. You need to go on TikTok. You need to go into some of these nightclubs, into the schools. You need to go into the laundromats, the hair salons, the barbershops, the farmers markets, the grocery stores. You need to meet these folks where they are. And you need to listen. And if you're not quick or don't have the stamina or the energy enough to keep up with where these folks are, then you need to retire. You need to sit down respectfully. Because the young folks is our generation. The majority of this country is in the millennials. Average age is 32 years old, but yet the Congress represents is the age of 75. And so it's not only listening to these folks, but they want a return on their investment. It is not right or fair for us to say, hey, it's time to pass the baton. It's time or you need to get activated to vote. But when young folks step up to run, we want to say, you're not ready. But I'm ready enough to vote for you. I'm competent enough to understand why you're the best candidate, but I'm not competent enough to be a better candidate, and I know what I want. Young folks are not buying it. And so we're seeing crazy voter apathy right now. People are not voting. We had enough votes in Harris County alone that could have made Kamala Harris the president of the United States right now. We have enough votes in Houston right now to turn Texas blue. But they're not turning out because we're not going to talk to them. So guess what politicians do? They do the dog and pony show. They make the rounds to go and try to intimidate our seniors. They go find those pastors that's willing to negotiate. They go find those civic leaders that's willing to take a check on behalf of the community and sell the community out. And they get those that stand on the sideline that's a little bit too scary to step up. And so when you have a candidate that's not afraid to bite their tongue, or a leader that's not, right now is not the time to negotiate, folks. And I'm saying this with every fiber in my body. And that's why I thank every single person, every single group, the alliances that has stood up behind Stand with Slater. It's not me that they're standing up for. It is courageous for you to step up and support this campaign with the odds that we're facing. And that's why when we win, it will be but God only. And so I thank every supporter that we have and every young folk. Today we had Swisher House out there at the polls today because of Michael Watts, who endorsed and supported this campaign. We went to a club last night, not a club, but it was an award show. There's only 20 people there, but it was some young up and starting artists that was still trying to make it in the music industry. Went to go support them, and they was excited to see somebody in the political system, and we taught them about politics. They're ready. They're just waiting for a leader to come to talk to them and lead them, not a politician. And so I look and to continue that work, whether we win, lose, or draw, we're not going nowhere. We're here for it because we're built for it. But I look to be the representative for them and all folks in this new Congressional District 29. But we have to put forth a candidate that they believe in. Simple as that.
Okay, well, that sounds, as always, very powerful and impactful. Okay, so this is the last thing that I'm going to do, and then I will disappear into the night. I want you to pretend that I am jaded, considering not voting at all, CD 29 residents. Tell me why I need to vote for Robert Slater on
Jaded.
March 3rd. I'm jaded. I just don't even care anymore. I'm so finished. I drive by signs and I think none of this matters. My vote doesn't matter. I should just ignore this.
Gotcha. I would tell you that, as a father, I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm a girl's dad, and to do my little daughter's hair. And I do my 3 little plaits that I don't know how to do every day, and I get her ready for school. And then she take care of her dad by making me some burnt toast or something and put an apple out. We have a little system, and she goes off to school. I go check on my son, who is wheelchair bound, but he still tries his best to live his life, and he's doing great jobs of giving back to the community. He has a nonprofit foundation, and he's just as passionate about the community like myself. And I go check on my mom, who is, physically can't do as much as she wants to, but at heart, she's still a South Central Los Angeles girl that like to Zydeco, that like to go on cruises and just want to enjoy life because she put so much into this country and she just want to return on her investment. And I want to make sure that she's set up to be able to enjoy that. I am a parent. I am you. And so I know that voting may not seem as if it's going to make a difference, that your vote don't count and your voice don't count. But if you come inside my household and you see what I'm fighting for, you will see that every single vote is matter because I'm doing it for them. And it's just like in your household. If you look at your kids right now that may go to gymnastics or cheerleading or play football or basketball or soccer, and you have aspirations and dreams for them to grow up to be successful one day. The country that we've enjoyed right now may not be here. It's not a joke and it's not a game. It does start with your vote. Didn't matter. They wouldn't be trying so hard to get it up, so hard to take it away from you. If vote didn't matter, they're hard to try to come by it or sell you out or scare you from not doing it. Or they wouldn't be trying so hard to make you think that your vote don't matter because you don't get the you really want. I'm you. I'm not a physician. I am a solution. I'm a fighter that's built for this fight. We've had enough, and I cannot do it without you. And even if you choose not to vote, still cannot do it without you. I don't want you just to vote for me. I want you to
Can y'all hear me? All right, Sheba, you still there? Well, Sheba may have gotten off, and I'm sorry for the disconnect, but for those that are still hanging around, I'm sorry we have some technical difficulties in here, but I just want to say, listen, thank you for joining us today. I hope you can like and share. Tell everyone about this new Congressional District 29. We're up here in the campaign office each and every single day, right here in the Greenspoint area. But folks, listen, this race is too serious. We're facing challenges, but we have some momentum, and it's a surge that's coming that I don't think they're going to be able to see it. But I need your help. We're looking for volunteers. We're looking for people that want a phone bank, that want a block walk, that'll like and share. You can go to standwithslater.com and sign up to be a volunteer. 2 hours a week, whatever it takes, especially on election day. We need as many people to the polls that can let everyone know that the change is on the ballot. We don't have the big name idea. We don't have the storied, inflated past experiences that my competitors want to exploit you to. But we do have the bona fides in the work that we have done. And it is all searchable. You can go to Stand with Slater, or you can Google Robert Slater. You can look at the work that we've done and that we're doing and that we're planning to do. I'll be in Washington, D.C. this Tuesday as a keynote speaker for a minority summit that they've asked us to go to. So we're going to DC while we're running for office to lay down the groundwork for the work that we do. And so I thank you for your time today. I thank you for joining us. And even if you live in the district, if you don't live in the district, listen, liking and sharing is a free contribution to this campaign. And if you can donate, go to standwithslater.com and donate $1, $5, whatever you can. That'll be great. But it's also, you could donate your time and donate to Phone Bank. That'll be great. But at the very minimum, if you could go to Stand with Slater on Facebook and follow us. And every time we post, just hit that free share button. That'll be important also. And so I thank you. Please reach out to us. Give us your voice, comments, and concerns. Even though I represent District 29, my vote is national implications. And so my vote affects you no matter where you may be at, whether you're in the district or not. And so your concerns are important to me as well. And so I look forward to hearing from you guys. Thank you. Let everybody know your team Slater, Robert Slater. There's a candidate, changes on the ballot. And we're here. March 29th, I was born the same day as Jasmine Crockett. Not riding that wave, but something about March 29th, we just built different as Avery. So thank you guys for your time. I look forward to see you at the polls and telling Robert Slater sent you. Stand with Slater. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.